All righty, everyone. Sorry, we're running a little bit late today. We got a little hung up at on the last job there, and it is what it is. We're still working out there in the field. Okay, I'm not just haven't abandoned that. So we still have a lot of stuff going on. Um, Customer interactions. This could be one of the best topics that we've ever had or come up with, because there's so many different options that you can go down. I just want to touch on a couple of them. For the most part, normally you get a phone call. Hello, this is Wayne with Tri-County Locksmith Service. How can I help you? And then, most people are cordial and just tell you what they need. Sometimes it's a little frustrating to get information out of people. For example, a lot of people, how many people out here has had the conversation with somebody? I'm locked out of my car. Okay. Where are you located at? Well, it's in my driveway. Okay. That's great. Fantastic. Where's that at? Well, it's at my house. Okay. I'm going to need a physical address or location because I don't know where you live. So you're going to have to give me all of the instructions to get me to your location so that I can unlock your car or house and you can be on your way. So some of those conversations can definitely be a little frustrating out there. But, for the most part, most people are pretty decent. But there are some big red flag issues, and I want to address and talk about some of those red flags. One of them was just recently, actually. I got an emergency call. There was a break-in at a jewelry store, and they broke the glass on the back door. Now, I have been doing AR2 polycarbonate glass substitute for a while, and I advertise another company called TC Door and Glass because a lot of people don't realize that locksmiths work on door closers, hinges, door alignment, handles, and all of the different things. So a lot of times when people have a glass door, they see a glass door, they're like, oh, I have to call a glass house or a glass company to work on this door. And I figured this out because I would rekey these locations, and I would see that the door closer is just leaking oil all over the place. And so I tell them, hey, your door closer, the door is slamming and you're leaking oil everywhere. Would you like me to fix that? And they're like, oh, you do that? And I'm like, yeah, we're a full service locksmith company. And they're all, oh, we had no idea. We didn't know who to call for that. So I started to ask after this happened about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. I started to ask myself, hey, who would you call? So I started asking the customer, who would you call if you were gonna have that fixed? And they kind of looked and thought for a second. And they're like, well, we'd probably call a glass company because it's a glass door and there's lots of glass everywhere. So I said, aha, light bulb moment. Guess what? I need to advertise as a locksmith, and I need to advertise that we do door work, glass door work, storefront door work. So I started TC Door and Glass, Tri-County Locksmith Service, TC Door and Glass. And it's worked out really well. I probably get at least 10 or 15 calls from that listing, just to fix, storefront doors. Everything from hinges to door closers to automatic door operators, to a lot of the other stuff that we do. And so I was like, well, okay, well, we stumbled onto something here, so that's a good thing. Well, one of the companies, the insurance company, called me for this. They said, oh, we had a break-in at one of our locations. Can you guys go do a board up? And a board up is just basically, hey, storefront glass or building glass or door glass or window glass all has to be tempered glass. And tempered glass you can't cut. So that means you can't cut it to size. So unless you just so happen to have the perfect piece of glass in the correct thickness and the correct dimensions, which is practically impossible, very unlikely. You're going to have to order that piece in, and it's going to take a couple days. Well, we can't just leave a giant gaping hole with no glass in it for a couple days. So we'll go out there and we'll do what's called a board up, where we just take plywood and we board that up. Or you can use plexiglass, you can use AR2 polycarbonate, you can use a lot of different things. And that's the beauty of AR2 polycarbonate, is we can cut that. I can cut AR2 polycarbonate to the thickness and the size to fit that. It's just very, very, very expensive. It's it'd be like $1,200 to make a glass sheet out of that stuff to replace that. So some people go for it and some people don't. This company just wanted me to board it up, and then they were going to call, another company that they were contracted with to do the actual glass work. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll go out there and I'll take care of it for you. But my spidey senses started tingling. I just got a really bad vibe from the people who we were working with and who contacted me just by the way they speak to me on the phone. Very, very thick foreign accent, not very good English. And and they kept changing things. I would tell him, he's like, okay, well, you got to get out there right now. And I'm like, you don't understand the situation. We're in a small mountain town, and you're lucky I'm picking up the phone, because I know every other glass company on the planet, or at least in this area here, and they're not even open today. They're not even going to take your call. So the fact that I'm taking your call and being willing to work with you is pretty significant, and I'm your only lifeline. Like, let's try and work together and treat me with a little bit more respect here. And it just kept getting like this just weird feeling. And so I was like, you know what? I'm putting it in writing. This is how much I'm charging. Okay. This is an emergency weekend board up. This is going to be like, $685, including I'm going to go get the wood, get it cut down, get it screwed onto the door, and I'm going to double back it. Since it's a jewelry store, I want to screw one panel from the inside so that nobody can just, come do the screws from the outside and then instantly be able to get in. It would take as much effort, if not more, to get through the wood than it would the glass, because the glass, you just throw a brick through it and the glass is done and you walk right in, right? You've got broken glass everywhere, but a piece of wood, you're going to need to have an axe or a cutting tool or a sawzall or some kind of cutting tool, or a sledgehammer to smash through it. It's going to take way more effort. So I board up the outside, basically just use self-tapping screws and use small little tiny ones with a big head on them, so they hold everything in place. And then I boarded up the inside so it's sandwiched together, and we fixed it for them. And we got all the other broken glass cleaned up and everything else. And I had told him, I had sent it in the text message, this needs to be paid for today. I am expecting a credit card. We need a credit card upon completion. Okay. We're not giving you terms. I'm in no way, shape, or form giving you any kind of payment terms. And they're like, oh yeah, whatever it takes, just get out there, And I'm like, okay, all right. Usually those are red flags when you start hearing those kind of things. And then they wanted to negotiate. He's like, well, that's too expensive. I said, well, you're more than welcome to call anybody else, but somebody else, but as well as I do, you've already tried to do that and you can't get a hold of anybody. You know that, and I know that. So now we both know it. So I'm not negotiating. Like I have nothing to negotiate with. I have no reason to negotiate with you. This is how much it costs for me to do this for you on a weekend. Plain and simple, the end. And it came time, we got it all done, and the crew and everybody's there too. And I mean, this guy, when it came time to pay, he was just belligerent, cursing, swearing. I mean, just absolutely ridiculous. Well, we can't pay right now, and we need time, and you charge too much, and we're not going to pay that amount, and blah, 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 blah. Well, I have the staff there. And the staff is like, okay, you just got us secure again. The staff is obviously shaken up. They just had a burglary, right? Like they could have been there and there could have been an armed person. Like they could have had face-to-face interaction with an armed robbery here. And so they're still pretty freaked out, and they're very thankful and very glad and very nice that I have got them secured and sealed up so that they're protected. So there's not an empty gaping hole in their glass door. And I put it on speakerphone, and I'm like, I'm going to put you on speakerphone, and I'm going to let you know right here, right now, I'm not playing this game. If you do not pay, I will take the boards that are still my property. I will take them off of the door. You have not purchased them. You have not paid for them, and I will take them with me, and you will leave your crew, your people here with no protection whatsoever after a fresh robbery. Do you want to do that? Well, you can't do that. I'm going to call the cops, is what he told me. And I said, cool. The cops are already here. So if you want to talk to them, go ahead and talk to them, and we'll talk to them about theft of services, because that's what you're doing right now. I have it in text message writing. You said you agreed to pay my price upon completion, and I have completed, and now you need to make your payment. Well, you can't do that. And I said, yes, I can, and I'm doing it right here, right now. So on speakerphone, the officer can hear, the staff can hear, everybody can hear everything. And I showed him, I'm like, here's a picture. Here's everybody right here. Here's the cops right here. You want to call them? Go ahead. Do it right here. They can hear you. And I said, you need to pay this bill. I'm not leaving without my materials or payment. One of the two. You can't have them both. And you know as well as I do that nobody else is coming out here to help you today. And so finally, reluctantly, I made him give me a credit card, and we ran it right then and there on the spot. He did actually pay for it finally. And I was happy to leave everything else alone and just let him do what he was going to do. If he was going to try and cancel the card after that, I had it all documented. I have everything on video that he gave permission for me to go ahead and run the card. I really covered a lot of bases, and I just don't think he was prepared. He thought I would be as prepared as I was, and adamant about getting paid for this job at the time of completion. And so I think people really need to understand that. Like, once you start getting red flags, you just really need to pay attention to the area, to everything that's going on, their tone, their attitude, and start watching for changes. Because when he wants me to work for him, oh yeah, he's my best friend. It says right in the text messages, thanks, brother. Really appreciate you helping out, blah, blah, blah. And then we ask for the money, and all of a sudden it's, you're cheap, screw you, F this, F that, blah, blah, blah. And then he went as far as to go online to my Google page, and he wrote a bad review saying that I was cheap. I'm the cheap one, I guess, for getting up on Saturday and helping them fix their problem with an emergency. The only one willing to answer the phone, by the way. But that's just the way that it goes. So you need to establish what your standards are. You need to determine what you find acceptable and not acceptable in these situations, and stand by it and just go ahead and do it. I mean, if you need to hold people accountable for what they say they're going to do. Another one that is pretty fresh that I brought up, or that just happened too, is there was a service call to work at a sports place. And they sent me out there to this location, and they didn't send a work order. The people that had sent me didn't send me a work order. So I got on site and I'm like, hey, I don't have a work order. What you want me to just go ahead and do it? And they're like, yeah, just go ahead and do it. Just have them sign a piece of paper. And I'm like, okay, sure. No problem. So I asked for the store manager. Part of the problem with these is I have to go find him in the back. All these stores are severely understaffed. They don't have enough people. The people that they have are the people that they have. And I went back to go get this guy and have him show me what was wrong. And he starts taking I can just tell there's just attitude already. And I'm like, okay, I'm here to help you. If you don't want me here, I don't have to be here. I can leave. And he's like, no, it's fine. Just go ahead and do this. And so a couple of minutes goes by. I get it done. I go back. I get him. Hey, I need you to come test this out for me, because it's my company policy and it's my policy that I'm not going to leave until I have the customer use their key and have them physically lock it up and unlock it. And the reason I do that is because this service call is like an hour and a half, 2 hours away. So I don't want to have to come back and have warranty work because they're not competent enough, either through user error or maybe there is an actual problem that I just didn't catch. However, if I sit there and I watch you and I videotape you operate the lock and lock and unlock it yourself, now I have evidence that says, look, I saw it work. It was working fine. Something happened. You guys did something. Now you've got another problem. If you want to pay me to come back out, I'm more than happy to do so, but it's going to be another service call and another hour labor. And so then this guy comes back out and I'm like, all right, you're all good. You're all set. You're ready to go. And he's like, well, I'm in the middle of something. I'm like, okay, well, I've got to get your signature on this. I've got to have you try this out before I leave. And he's like, okay. So then he came back out and he keeps asking me, he's like, well, what did you do? And I'm like, well, I fixed your lock, sir. I fixed the door, or I fixed the gate. It was a roll-up gate that went over the window. I fixed your gate. And now I need you to check it out. I need you to try it. And he's like, well, what exactly did you do? And I feel that that's personally my choice, whether or not I answer that question. I'm not required to teach you how to do my job. Like that's not part of the equation here. And so I told him, I just tightened up your set screw and everything seems to be working. So if you could try it out and let me know and make sure that everything's working, then I'll be on my way. I just need a signature, manager's signature, and print it on this piece of paper, on a piece of paper. And he's like, you don't have a work order? And I said, well, they didn't send one. They sent me out here and I told them I was coming out here and it was the dispatcher's fault. I showed them the text message. Hey, dispatcher, we didn't send a work order. Well, I guess this company gets very picky about their paperwork when it comes to these work orders. So now he just starts kind of going off. And I guess he was upset that I didn't tell him what I did because he wanted to be able to fix it next time, which I don't have to tell you how to do my job. That's not my job. My job is to fix it. So when he kept asking, how did you fix it? I said, sir, I don't have time to explain a 12-year career on how I fix this lock to you. I'm not training you. Right? That's not what we're doing here. I need you to work the lock. I need you to lock it. I need you to unlock it. I need you to sign this piece of paper. I need you to print your name on it. And I need to go. I've got other jobs and other people waiting. Well, that instantly set him off. Well, you're not the only one that's busy. So he starts taking real attitude with me. And he's very upset that we didn't get a work order. He's like, everybody has to have a work order. It's company policy. You have to have a work order. So I showed him all the stuff. Hey, I don't have the work order. They didn't send it. I don't know what you want me to do. I'm not going to magically produce one for you. But after this, now I'm kind of feeling the resentment and the heat building. So I just pull out my phone and I'm like, all right, dude, you know what? We're going to have an attitude adjustment. I'm going to start filming how you're interacting with me because you're not being very professional right now. And so that just set him completely off. Then he's like, you're not the only one that's busy. We all have stuff to do. I don't know why they sent you out here with a work order. You were only here for 2.5 minutes. And certainly you're probably trying to charge us too much. And that's the problem. And I'm like, well, you don't have any control. You're the manager here. You have no control over what corporate approves or doesn't approve. And so you have no authority whatsoever. And if you don't want to sign the paper, that's fine. I'll just take a picture of you. And he's like, you can't do that. And I'm like, I'm filming you right now. So if you want to throw your little fit, go ahead and throw your fit. You can look ridiculous on TV if that's what you want to do. And I'm going to send this to the higher ups that sent me out here because you've been flat out rude. You've been combative. You've been difficult to work with. You don't want to give me the information that I need. You don't want to sign the paperwork. Like, you are causing a major problem in this job that doesn't need to be here. And all I'm trying to do is fix the gate so that you can lock up and go home tonight and not have to have an armed guard here, right? And so that finally started to calm him down a little bit. And I wrote it up in the report. And I was like, you know what? The manager was very hostile, very rude, and, just kept giving me crap about doing my job here. And it was like he thought he was the police or something. Like, he was going to inspect my job he wanted to know how much I was charging. Number one, if you're working for a national service provider, I don't give that information out anyways. It's in our contract for me not to give that out. And he said that company's charging us thousands of dollars and you were only here for, 2 minutes. And I'm like, well, I mean, just because we can fix it in that amount of time doesn't mean that that's my fault. So you're just going to have to deal with it. I mean, he's like, well, I'll sign the paperwork, but I'm going to make a special note of this and I'm going to put in some notes on my end about you as well. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Well, I'm going to take this video and I'm going to make sure that we send that to them as well. And I'll put my own notes in because I have documentation and evidence and you don't. You just have probably what looks like an irritated rebuttal after I held your feet to the fire and held you accountable for all the crap you're talking and being a rude a-hole, basically. And so that kind of changed his attitude. And he's like, well, we don't have to go down that road. And I was like, well, if you want to keep going this way, we can go down that road. And he's like, no, let's just not do that. And so he wanted to eventually kind of work things out so that he didn't look so ridiculous. But yeah, that is a great tool. When you have somebody being obnoxious and belligerent, I just pull out my phone. Hey, I'm sending this to your boss. So you can be rude, you can be a jerk, you can be a dickhead, you can do whatever you want to do. I'm catching it all on camera. If you try and touch me or my camera, that's going to be assault, and we're going to have a whole new set of problems. Take that for what you will. Sometimes people don't know who they're messing with. Sometimes people, I carry everywhere I go. So if you really want to have an escalated physical problem, that's probably not going to work out real well for you. We've also taken jujitsu and a bunch of other stuff. Like you don't know who you're messing with. And at the end of the day, you might not like the results from your decisions. So pull out the phone, record people. I've been able to do that. That seems to at least help curving the irritation and animosity, and at least starts making people be self-aware. Hey, I better watch exactly what I'm saying and doing because it might be the newest TikTok sensation, right? So there's belligerent customers. That's definitely something that we have to deal with, which is what we dealt with there. And after I made my notes and sent everything in, the maintenance facility company was like, oh my gosh, we're so sorry. We didn't know that you were going to have to deal with this guy. Obviously, you handled it professionally. And all I would tell him is, thank you, sir. Have a good day. Thank you, sir. Have a good day. Thank you, sir. Have a good day. And that just drove him nuts. I mean, insane. The guy is bat crazy. Just drove him insane. The nicer I was, the more aggravated and irritated he would get. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not going to bring myself down to your level and start cussing and chewing your butt and making all these different accusations and basically making myself look like an idiot for you, right? I don't need to do that at all in any way, shape, or form. So that was how we handled that one. Another common thing for locksmiths and security professionals, alarm people, anybody in the security trade, is dealing with people who have mental illness or paranoia. We kind of had that happen the other day too, where, you may be, I've had people come out and they've asked me to install locks on their door. Okay, we'll come change the locks. We'll install high security locks. These are all pretty normal things. But every now and then you get somebody who's on a complete tear and they want you to mount 3 deadbolts on their front door. Like, okay, these are red flags. Big red flags. And those red flags you should pay attention to because they can lead to major problems. We had one lady call in and she was crazy. I mean, she was straight up crazy. She wanted me to put all high security ASA twin 6000 locks on all of her doors. She wanted one on her bedroom door. She wanted double keyed locks. She wanted more locks and keys than we could supply. And it just got to the point where, I thought I was helping somebody. I thought I was helping give them peace of mind. And what we realized was they're never going to be satisfied with this. Doesn't matter what you do. They are always going to be getting in. And that's the exact verbiage that you'll hear is they keep getting in. They move my trash can. They are picking my locks. They are inside my house. They. Well, us as locksmiths, we tend to kind of take that on as a challenge. No, I've got some pick-proof locks, and these are the best locks on the planet, and we're going to stop them. You're fighting a ghost, and you're trying to ration with someone who's insane, is what's happening. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner you can actually become a little bit more comfortable, because that's just what it takes. Is you have to realize these people are not in their right mind. They have severe mental illness. They have some kind of dementia, insanity, some kind of neural problem in their brain as to why this is happening and what's going on. And no amount of technology is going to help. It doesn't matter. If you put in all the cameras, all the sensors, all the motion sensors, all the door sensors, they're coming up through the floor. Okay, well, the motion sensor would have got that. Well, not if it's on the floor. That's a long ways down. I don't think that's within the parameters of the alarm system. Okay, all right. Well, did you catch him on camera? No, the camera didn't catch him. The camera couldn't see him. Okay, all right. So you just start adding these things up, and pretty soon now I can spot them like a hawk. Oh, you're an insane person. I don't want to work for you. Here is the number to my least favorite competitor. Have at it. You know what I mean? I'm just joking, but you get the idea. Is I want to pass on that. I want to work with quality customers that want quality work at an affordable price as quickly as possible. That's my customer. And they pay their bill and they don't worry about anything else. They just make sure that they pay their bill. And that's pretty hard to find. I know Pack Blue has their shipping that contents around is really, really one of their special fortes is they have everything all boxed up and just it works really well with the way they do that. And that's a very, very helpful thing to have. So understanding when your customer could actually be crazy and when you're dealing with someone who's completely irrational versus someone who is thankful that you're there, but maybe a little skeptical is going to be one of those key factors that you're going to have to identify. The bad part about what will happen is so the next step, like I did, I was trying to give this woman peace of mind. Oh, I'll sell you. They keep picking your locks. Okay, well, we'll sell you a high security ASA Twin 6000, one of the most pick resistant locks on the planet, right? And even that didn't help. And so then you have to ask yourself when it comes, it brings in ethics and business and character and integrity into the situation. And it makes you stop and say, am I taking advantage of this person? Am I solving their problem, or am I just charging them money knowing no amount of anything is ever going to be enough for them? And everybody's point is different. Everybody's point to where they hit that is different. I did feel that I was giving her peace of mind to a degree up until she wanted them on her bedroom door. And I told her, I was like, this lock costs more than your whole bedroom door. And your bedroom door is basically made out of plastic or cardboard, right? One of those cheap, thin, flimsy doors. I mean, one smack and your hand will go right through the whole thing. So we have to understand where that person is coming from and the mind state that they are in. Because if you're dealing with somebody who's manic or depressed or bipolar, you could be in for a wild ride. You're going to hear one thing and then you're going to hear something completely different a few minutes later. And it's very frustrating because you planned on doing the one thing. That's just the way that it breaks down and the way that it works. But there are some instances where I do make exceptions and we do need to make sure that we help these people. One lady I had put on my do not call list. Basically, if you mess up to a certain level or a certain degree, I don't want your business anymore. I put you on a do not call list. If you ever call me back or text me, it'll say do not work for so-and-so, right? And that's been a very effective system as far as making the scammers not call and kind of go away. But the problem still remains with the other people who are in the area locally. How do we get our search engine ranked on top of theirs? Well, that all goes back to all your SEO stuff that we had learned before, and we've got a lot of different avenues to go ahead and work on that. But that's not my sector. That's not my section. Let's see. What was our last one here? We had one other one too. I'm trying to think. Yeah, we had her, and that was the vault door. And a few other things. I can't remember exactly what it was right now. But it'll come back to me here in a second. But finding those red flags and actually catching them before you engage with them is going to be key. That's what it was. There was another lady who was freaking out, who couldn't access her safe. Okay. She couldn't change the battery on her safe. So she asked me, she called, she said, can you help me change the battery on my safe? I said, sure, I'll send you a video. So I sent her a video on how to change that battery. She said, I can't get it. That didn't work. Does the battery go in the front or the back? And I said, well, it goes on the side. There's a secure RAM lock, so it goes in the side. And she's like, that doesn't help. I need to know whether it goes in the front or the back. It has to go in the front or the back. And I said, I don't know how to explain this to you in any other way, but don't take the lock off of the safe, because there's nothing you're going to be able to access back there. And then from the outside, that ring comes off so you can tuck the battery in the side. And she just was not grasping this concept. And so finally I was like, well, I'm not sure what we're going to have to do here. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You can't put it in any other way. So I sent her a YouTube video so she could see this is exactly how you do it. Okay, that works. And she called me back again, and she couldn't get it, and she couldn't get it, and she couldn't get it. And I said, do you want me to come out and just do it for you? And she's like, well, how much are you going to charge me? I said, it's weekend emergency service rates, service call, and labor. So it's going to be expensive. It's not going to be very cheap. Well, I have to get my prescriptions out of there. And I said, okay, that's fine and dandy. This is what it costs. This is how much we're going to charge to go ahead and do this. And if you want to move forward with it, great. If not, then I'm going to put my attention somewhere else. Okay, come on out. Just make sure that you get it done. Well, she didn't, but then she said she didn't want me to come out and get it done immediately after that. She was wishy-washy back and forth. And this is also one of those clients that started with they are getting in a couple months earlier. And so I made the decision. I'm like, you know what? I don't like where this is going. I've got a bad feeling about this. And so I told her, I was like, I'm done. I tried to help you. I tried to walk you through it. Just have a nice day. I'm done with this situation. And then she calls yet again. She calls incessantly. And she's like, oh, well, your have a nice day really sounded like go F yourself to me. And I was like, I don't know how to, I can't help you anymore. I've walked you through the process. I've sent you videos on how to do it. I've sent you the instructions. I've given you a written step-by-step guide on how to change this battery. If you can't do it with this amount of information, then you have to hire a professional to go ahead and get that done for you. And she was just not picking up this concept. And so finally I was like, you know what? I'm done with this one. Put her on the do not call list. And I have about a dozen people on my phone. Right before their name, it says, do not work for. I'm learning from my past mistakes and my past grumpy customers that, just made me not want to do that, and learn from it to say, okay, let's label and tag some of these people so that we can understand who we're dealing with here. Well, that turned out to end up being a very good choice, is just kind of backing off, letting her throw her fit, letting her do whatever she needed to do. And then she started to really calm down, and then she was more of a reasonable person and would actually interact with me. Well, we ended up being able to get her to change her battery, but then she ended up locking herself out of her house. So here I am, and I see the phone ring again. I'm like, oh my goodness, no, not you again. This is going to be a nightmare. The last bit was a nightmare, and this is a nightmare. I thought the eye had popped out or something. And so she's like, no, I locked myself out of my house. And I'm like, okay, well, we can come back and we can get you back into your house. That's not a problem. Here's the charge. And she said, okay, that's not a big deal. And then when I get there, she's trying to bring the price down. She's like talking to me like, hey, it doesn't look that hard. It's not taking you very long. Can you come down on the price? And I was like, no, that's the price that we agreed to. I apologize if you agreed to it prematurely and you couldn't afford it or whatever. But that's it. That's all I can really do. And that set her off. She just became belligerent, started cursing at me and swearing, and I don't know who you are or why you're here. This isn't being done correctly. It was being done correctly. It was being done with spaced and measured out screws and at small screws so that they could easily be filled when we're done so that the door can be put back into service and look amazing. She just would not let this go. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm not coming out to that location. We've already marked you as red flag, do not work for, because you said some things that were inappropriate or you did some things that were inappropriate, and we don't want to be a part of that anymore. And so then she gets really irate and she's like, so you're not going to help? And I said, ma'am, I have helped you. I have sent you videos. I have walked you through the process. I have identified the keypad year, make, and model. I have identified your safe year, make, and model. I have given you every bit of piece of information that I could possibly give another human being about this subject right here, right now. And that really, really set her off, because basically you're calling somebody incompetent at that point, even though I had no intention of doing so. That's just the way that it came out. So we were able to get her taken care of. It took a while. It took a long while, but we were able to get things taken care of. And I just think that it's important that people understand those red flag warnings. If you get somebody who's saying they keep getting into my house or my car or whatever it is, ask who the they is. And if it's not Joe or Bob or a person or a neighbor, and it's an imaginary figment of their imagination, probably a good time to run away from that particular one. That's not going to be real good. That's not going to serve you very well. You might also get some payment issues with that as well. As soon as I asked for a credit card, I could tell that's what that guy was planning on doing, is stiffing me and then just making me wait for the checks to come in, so that he could try and lowball things. But it is what it is. Bottom line is, pay attention to red flags. Be upfront with your pricing. I do try and be upfront with my pricing as well. You don't want to bait and switch. That's totally not ethical in any way, shape, or form. But I also don't want to tell them it's $100 and really it's a semi tractor trailer and it's 250, or however that's going to work out, however that math is going to work out. So you want to make sure that you're in constant communication with the customer, that you are as polite and respectful as you can possibly be for them and with them, because here's what's going to happen if you don't. If you lose your temper, yeah, that's you right there, you. If you lose your temper, you've only given them fuel to then capture and video you acting crazy and then say, look at this crazy person. Look at what they did. And they will actually use that as evidence against you. Okay. I've seen that happen at a bar. It's not fun. That just kind of is what it is as far as that goes. But the main point and main takeaway here is always be prepared for these different customers. You're going to get customers who have 2 or 3 people on the phone. They're going to call you on a conference call. It might be a good idea to make sure that you prepare yourself for those inevitable times when you're going to have to eat next to somebody who you may or may not like. And that's just a fact. Okay. Let's see, what other red flags do we have? We've caught a couple red flags ahead of time too. So I'll catch it on the phone. Oh yeah, they keep getting in. Oh, okay. Tell me a little bit more about that. Oh, I don't know, but they keep getting in at night. And I'm like, when's the last time they got in? They said last night and the night before and the night before. Okay. Red flags are all going crazy. I'm probably going to pass that call on. I'm going to pass that on to my favorite competitor, or least favorite competitor rather, because I don't want to deal with the headache of that. That's too much. It's going to be too obnoxious, and I don't need a helper. I would much rather just get it done on my own, make my own mistakes, and completely do it by myself. That's my philosophy on it. But a lot of people don't think like that. It is what it is. As far as the customer interactions go, some other customer interactions that I would pay attention to. Oh, there is one other one that happened. That is one other one that happened. So I had this really weird call where this guy was calling from out of state, and what he would do is he'd hire you to go out to the location, and he would tell you that his sister is sleeping. He would say that this person is his sister, and he's taking care of the account, and they're sleeping, and you need to go out and rekey the locks. I still don't know what the scam is. I don't know what the end result is. I don't know what the play is, but they call, they pretend to be a family member or manager of some sort, or somebody of some importance to authorize that. And then they just kind of look for information. It was really, really weird. And then they'll give you these excuses of, oh, they're going to be asleep, they're not home, you're not going to be able to contact the owner. That's a huge red flag. I'm not going to go to somebody's house and alter or change anything, especially their locks and keys, without notifying them of doing so. Either you're evicted and you're kicked out and the sheriff's department has booted you out, in which you have no rights to that property, or you still live there, and because you and the landlord are hashing things out doesn't mean that you just, like, the landlord can't just get up and say, you got to go. That's not going to work. There's laws and stuff in this country so that people can have a little bit of a break and have some time to get moved from one end to the other. And that was another unique, interesting story, was just dealing with them, how they did things. An EAX, a DTEX EAX installation. That one was a little weird. It was a little funky, just because of the way that we had to mount it on there and just all the different components that went in together with that. So at the end of the day, I want you to really make sure that you pay attention to what you've got going on. I want you to have a good understanding of the job before you get on site. Hopefully you can find somebody there when you do get there. And then these large national service providers, you can ask for net terms with them. You can say, hey, our company accepts net 30, if that's what you want to do. Or you can say, hey, this needs to be paid immediately with a credit card upon completion, which is what most people do, because who knows if these companies are going to be around in a couple of years. And if they go bankrupt, they're going to go bankrupt with your money, not theirs. So I hope that provides a little bit of understanding of some of the locksmith calls that we get. It's a lot of repetition. I love when you pick up the phone. Hello, this is Wayne with Tri-County Locksmith. How are you? Is this the locksmith? Hello? Yes, this is Wayne with Tri-County Locksmith Service. How can I help you? Yeah, you're the locksmith, right? Yes, this is the locksmith. How can I help you? I just keep removing words until they tell me what it is they want, because it's driving me nuts why they won't tell me what they want. So yet again, it's one of those things where I can't control them, but I can understand what their needs are, and I can still accomplish them, and I can still make money that day by rekeying some doors, getting a bunch of spots hammered out all at once, and just kind of going with the flow on that stuff. It's more difficult to do it by yourself, obviously. So if you have somebody else who can help out, that's definitely going to be one of those things that's going to help progress you along. What else do we have for customer interactions? And for the most part, these are just the worst, the bottom of the barrel. For the most part, our customers are extremely nice, very kind, very supportive, very understanding. And 9 times out of 10, they don't even have a clue what I did. So how can they ask, what did you do? And if some people do ask, what did you do? I tell them, I said, here's all the things that we did. And they either get a puzzled look on their face or they ask a follow-up question. And I'll just basically ask little questions or throw little random pieces of knowledge out until they get bored and get tired of listening to me and go away is the bottom line on that. So just know that it happens to everybody. I've been yelled at, cursed at, had doors slammed in my face. I've been told to get off of the property 100%, grab my tools, grab my crap, get in your truck and get your truck off of the property over, basically nothing. Then I was able to get in contact with the main person at the construction company who we normally work with, and I told them the experience that we had, and lo and behold, that person who thought that they could be rude and degrading to me is no longer there anymore. Now, it wasn't my intent to get him fired. That's not what I want to do. However, I would sure appreciate it if somebody came to me and said, this employee was really difficult to deal with. I didn't see any customer service skills. They're kind of a bump on a log. That's all, the only way I can explain it. And when that happens, hey, I gotta get rid of that. I gotta get rid of that client. I gotta get rid of that customer. I've got to move on to more productive and better things that pay better and appreciate the work that I'm doing. So that hopefully kind of concludes it and sums it up for you out there. Watch those red flags. You can work for them in some cases and instances. It will provide them some peace of mind. However, recognize that at a certain point, there is no going back. There's no going back to the way things were. That person has too much information that you've given them, and you don't know if you can trust them with that or not. So you're going to have to figure out how to deal with that on your particular end. But just know that it happens. These things happen out there. People being rude to you. Hey, you know what? When somebody's being rude to me, there's no point in me being rude back. It's only going to escalate the situation. If you got two hands or two fists and you put your hand out and your buddy puts their hand out and you don't push, you just bring the hand out and touch, they're instantly going to start pushing on you. Why is that? It's a natural human reflex to do so. Okay. So when you do that, your brain is doing the same thing and it's telling you to push these people away. It's telling you, hey, we need space. We need a break. That's how I see these things working out in the future. And when you're already overwhelmed and then you have another problem dumped into your lap and another problem and more paperwork, and I'm going to be home even later and I'm tired and I haven't eaten and I'm grouchy and all of these things have happened, that's going to put you into a place where you may not be making the best decisions. That's all there is to that too. So if you want to be in a good, healthy place, make sure you document everything. Make sure that you have good communication with the people who are like the GCs or the end user customer. Make sure you're fulfilling their needs first. And then whoever the tool guy is that shows up, that's one of those things where they're not really part of the cheerleading aspect. They're not really part of the show. We just kind of threw them in there and gave them some instruments or whatever, and started working with it that way. But yeah, that's pretty much where we're at there. I hope this has shed some light on customers and customer interactions. I share my personal stories with you. We've had some just flat out crazy people. That's the only way, is literal, legitimate mental illness and insanity. That is the only way that you can possibly describe what is happening. And the sooner that you as a locksmith can pick up on these things, and the sooner your spidey senses tingle when these things start to happen, the better off you're going to be. And I would just highly recommend not engaging, not working with those people, not running their calls. And I would recommend sending them to somebody else or giving them a reference so that they can get whatever they need done by somebody else. You'll be on a job where the customer enjoys paying you, has both lobes of their brain working, is a sane, rational person, and will be much easier to deal with. Or you can go deal with the crazy people who, it's going to be a fight every step of the way. What other locks can you add? Can people pick those locks? How do people pick locks? I mean, when you're at somebody's house who's insane like this, the questions go on and on and on and on. I literally had to get my tool out, or a tool, and just let it run to drown them out so that I didn't have to conversate with them anymore, because I needed to focus on the job at hand. And this person's smoking like a train. I just want to get my stuff fixed, get out of there, and be done with the situation. So, in conclusion, make sure you pay attention and gather lots of contact information. Treat everybody with respect right off of the get-go, right on the phone. That's going to prevent bad reviews from getting up on your page. If you do get somebody who is not compliant, or you can't understand and can't understand you, hey, you know what? I'm going to have to ask you to leave this property, and we're going to do what we need to do. You go over there, and then we'll figure it out when we get back. That could be another option as well. So hope everybody enjoyed. Hope I didn't ramble on too much here. I wish we had a special guest, but I felt this topic needed to be discussed. I felt it needed to be covered, and I hope people got something out of it. So thanks for watching. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks.